The eviction notice screamed in bold red letters against the chipped paint of the door. Alina Martinez pressed her forehead against the cold wall, feeling the weight of 21 years crush down on her shoulders. Inside, her father coughed. That wet, rattling sound that meant the cancer treatment had worked, but left him hollow. Her phone buzzed. Hospital billing. She declined it for the 43rd time this month. Alina. Her father's voice barely carried through the door. She wiped her eyes and forced her face into something resembling hope before stepping inside their one-bedroom apartment where the couch doubled as her bed. "How are you feeling today, Papa?" "Better?" His smile was real. His trembling hands told the truth. "Don't worry about the bills, mija. We'll figure something out." But there was nothing left to figure out. She had exhausted every option, every favor, every shred of dignity. That evening, the black car pulled up beside her as she walked home from the bookstore. The window descended with an expensive whisper. Alina Martinez. The woman inside had silver hair and a face that probably cost more than their medical debt. Cold elegance wrapped in tailored wool. "Who's asking?" "Victoria Sterling. I represent someone who might have a solution to your difficulties." Alina's instinct screamed to run. "I'm not interested in loans." "This isn't about loans." Victoria's smile was surgical. "This is about a marriage contract. 1 year of your life in exchange for complete financial freedom." The words hit like a fist to the stomach. "You want me to sell myself?" "I want to offer you a business arrangement. My client needs a wife for appearances. You need money to save your father. It's simple economics." Victoria extended a cream-colored card through the window. "Your father's medical bills, this eviction notice, your student loans, all of it gone. You'd have your own money, your own life, just a wedding ring for 12 months. The car pulled away, leaving Alina holding the card in the amber streetlight. That night, she watched her father sleep. The cancer was gone, but the financial ruin it left behind was killing them slower. She thought about the kind of man who would need to buy a wife. The idea should have disgusted her, but desperation rewrites morality. By morning, she had made her decision. "Victoria Sterling, it's Alina Martinez. I want to hear your offer." The downtown law office made her feel poor. Marble floors reflected a version of herself she didn't recognize in her best dress that suddenly felt like costume jewelry. "Miss Martinez." The voice made her turn. The man standing before her was nothing like she had imagined. Tall, dark-haired, with green eyes that looked like they'd forgotten how to see light. His suit probably cost more than her father's entire treatment, but it was his face that stopped her. Guarded, almost broken. "I'm Alexander Stone, Alex." "Alina." His handshake was brief, like touch burned him. They were led into a conference room where Victoria waited with an army of lawyers and documents that could bury her. "The terms are simple," Victoria began, spreading papers across the mahogany table. 1 year of marriage, public appearances as needed, separate bedrooms, no intimacy required or expected. Alina's throat went dry. "And the money?" $500,000 upon signing. "All your debts paid immediately. A penthouse apartment for you and your father, plus a monthly allowance." The number was obscene, impossible. "And at the end of the year?" Her voice barely worked. "Clean divorce. Another $500,000. You walk away free." Alina looked at Alexander. He sat rigid, staring at nothing, jaw tight enough to shatter. "Why?" she asked him directly. "Why do you need this?" He finally met her eyes. For a moment, something human flickered there. "My family's company is failing. The board thinks I'm too damaged to lead. They want someone stable. Someone who makes me look..." He stopped. "Fixable. Damaged how?" His expression went cold again. "That's not part of the contract." Victoria slid a pen across the table. "Miss Martinez, your father has maybe 3 months before the stress of your situation kills him. The choice is yours." Alina picked up the pen. Her hand shook so hard the ink almost blurred. She signed her name. Alexander signed without looking at her. "Congratulations," Victoria said, her smile sharp as broken glass. "You're engaged." That night, Alina stood in the penthouse apartment Victoria had arranged. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Her father asleep in a real bedroom with clean sheets and medicine he could actually afford. She touched the engagement ring on her finger. A massive diamond that felt like a shackle. Her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at the address I'm sending. Come alone if you want to know what you really signed up for." The message came with a photo. Alexander, younger, smiling, his arm around a woman with dark hair and eyes that looked like they held the whole world. The woman's face had been crossed out with red ink. Alina's blood went cold. Who is this? Someone who knows what Alexander Stone is capable of, and why his last wife disappeared. The address led Alina to a coffee shop in a neighborhood that felt forgotten by the city. Rain hammered the windows, turning the streetlights into blurred halos. She almost turned back 3 times. The woman sitting in the corner booth wore a hood pulled low. When Alina approached, she looked up with eyes that had seen too much. "You came." The woman's voice carried an accent. "Eastern European, maybe. Smart girl. Or maybe just desperate. Who are you?" "Irina Volkov. I worked for the Stone family until I learned things I wasn't supposed to know." She pushed a manila folder across the table. "That woman in the photo. Her name was Catherine Stone. Alexander's wife." Alina's hands went cold. "Was? She disappeared 2 years ago. No body, no evidence. Just gone." Irina's eyes were hard. "The police called it a voluntary disappearance. Said she left him. But I was there the night she vanished. I heard them fighting. About what? About the baby." The word hit like a punch. Catherine was pregnant. 6 months. She told Alexander she wanted out. Said the marriage was killing her. That he was cold. Controlling. That she couldn't raise a child in that prison. Irina leaned forward. 3 hours later, she was gone. Her car still in the driveway. Her phone still in the house. Just her and the baby she was carrying. Vanished. Alina felt sick. "You think he killed her?" "I think Alexander Stone is very good at making problems disappear. And I think you just became his newest problem solution." Irina stood. "The contract you signed has a clause. Page 47. Did you read it?" "I read all of it." "Then you saw the part about discretion. About not discussing the marriage terms with anyone. About penalties for breach." Irina's smile was bitter. "Those penalties aren't just financial, Miss Martinez. They're legal, criminal. One wrong word and you could lose everything, including your father's medical care." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Catherine was my friend. And because I couldn't save her." Irina handed her a burner phone. "Keep this hidden. If you find anything that proves what happened to her, call me. Don't use your regular phone. They monitor everything." She disappeared into the rain, leaving Alina alone with the folder. Inside were photos. Catherine and Alexander on their wedding day. He looked younger, almost happy. But in later photos, something had changed. Catherine's smiles became strained, her eyes hollow. The last photo was dated 3 days before she disappeared. Catherine stood in front of the Stone family mansion, one hand on her pregnant belly, tears streaming down her face. On the back, someone had written, "He said he'd never let me leave." The wedding was scheduled for the following week. "A small ceremony," Victoria insisted. "Just family and necessary witnesses." Alina hadn't spoken to Alexander since signing the contract. He'd sent movers for her things, arranged her father's transfer to a private medical facility. Everything handled through intermediaries. But the night before the wedding, he showed up at her penthouse door. He looked exhausted. Shirt wrinkled, tie loose, like he'd been wearing the same clothes for days. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He moved to the windows, staring out at the city like it held answers he couldn't find. "I know you've been asking questions," he said quietly. "About Catherine." Alina's heart stopped. "How do you—" "I know everything that happens in my world." He turned to face her. "Irina contacted you, showed you photos, told you I'm a monster. Are you?" The silence stretched like wire. "Catherine was dying," he said finally. "Brain cancer, stage 4. She had maybe 6 months when we found out. The pregnancy was a miracle, a last chance at something real before she was gone." Alina felt the ground shift under her feet. She wanted to live her last months in peace, away from the media, away from my family circus. So she left. I helped her disappear, set her up somewhere safe where she could have the baby and live whatever time she had left in dignity. The baby? A daughter, Sarah. She's 18 months old now, healthy, perfect. His voice cracked. Catherine died 4 months after giving birth, peacefully, in a house by the ocean. Then why not tell people? Why let them think you're... Because my family would have destroyed her memory. They would have fought for custody of Sarah, turned her into a Stone family pawn. Catherine made me promise to keep them away from her daughter, so I let the world think I was the villain. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. He pulled out his phone, showing her a photo. A toddler with dark curls in Catherine's eyes, laughing in a garden. She lives with Catherine's sister in Oregon. I visit when I can. Send money, but I'm not her father. Not really. Catherine wanted her raised away from all this. Alina felt tears burning. Why tell me? Because you deserve to know what you're walking into. This marriage isn't just about saving my company. It's about protecting Sarah. If the board thinks I'm stable enough to remarry, they'll stop looking for reasons to remove me. Stop digging into my past. Stop getting close to the truth about where Catherine went. He stepped closer. The lamplight caught the shadows under his eyes. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm not asking you to forgive me for what this marriage is. But I need you to know I'm not a killer. Just a man who kept a promise to someone he couldn't save. Alina wanted to believe him. Every instinct said he was telling the truth. But something nagged at her. Something wrong in the story. Irina said she heard you fighting the night Catherine disappeared. Alexander's expression shifted. Irina heard what she wanted to hear. She was in love with Catherine. Thought I wasn't good enough for her. Maybe she was right. He moved to the door. Tomorrow you'll become my wife. After that, you can believe whatever you want about me. But know this. He looked back at her. I've already lost everyone I cared about. I have nothing left to lose. Which makes me either the safest person you'll ever know, or the most dangerous. The door closed behind him. Alina stood in the silence, her mind racing. She pulled out the burner phone Irina had given her and dialed. Did you find something? Irina's voice was sharp. He told me about Catherine, about the cancer, the baby. And you believed him? I don't know what to believe. Then believe this. Irina's voice dropped to a whisper. I worked in that house for 3 years. I saw the medical records. Catherine never had cancer. That's a lie. Whatever Alexander told you, it's a lie. The line went dead. Alina stared at her engagement ring, feeling the trap closing around her. Tomorrow, she would marry a man who was either a grieving widower or a murderer, and she had no idea which. The wedding was sterile. A judge's office, 4 witnesses, vows that tasted like ash. Alexander slid the ring onto her finger without meeting her eyes. His hands were steady. Hers shook. You may kiss the bride. He pressed his lips to her forehead instead, brief, cold, like sealing a business deal. Victoria watched from the corner, her smile sharp with satisfaction. That night, Alexander disappeared. His assistant called to say he had business in Seattle, would be gone a week. Alina was left alone in the mansion that was now supposedly her home. 40 rooms of marble and memory, staff who looked through her like glass. She waited until midnight, then started searching. The first floor was all performance. Grand rooms designed to impress. Nothing real, nothing human. The second floor held bedrooms. Hers was at the east end, decorated in cream and gold like a hotel suite. Alexander's was at the west end. She tried the door. Locked. The third floor was different. Dust coated the picture frames. Furniture covered in white sheets like ghosts. She found Catherine's room at the end of the hall. The door opened with a whisper. Inside, everything remained exactly as it had been. Clothes still in the closet. Books on the nightstand. A hairbrush on the vanity with dark strands still tangled in the bristles. Alina's skin crawled. This wasn't the room of someone who'd left willingly. This was a shrine, or a crime scene. She moved to the desk, pulled open drawers, found journals, dozens of them, leather-bound and heavy. The first entry was dated 3 years ago. Alexander proposed today. I said yes. I know I shouldn't have. I know what his family is. But when he looks at me, I forget to be afraid. Alina flipped forward. Months passed in ink and longing. The wedding was beautiful. Alexander was beautiful. I think I might actually be happy. Then, slowly, the tone changed. He's different at home. Cold. Distant. Like the man I married only exists in public. His mother cornered me today. Said I wasn't good enough, that I'd never be enough. Alexander didn't defend me. I found cameras in our bedroom. When I asked him about them, he said it was for security. But the way he looked at me, like I was the threat. Alina's hands shook as she read, I'm pregnant. I should be happy. But all I feel is trapped. Alexander says the baby changes everything, says his family will finally accept me. But I see the way they look at me now, like I'm just a vessel. I told him I wanted to leave, take the baby and disappear. He laughed, said I signed a contract, that I belong to the Stone family now, that the baby belongs to them. I'm scared. I'm so scared, and I have nowhere to go. The last entry was dated the night Catherine disappeared. I have to get out tonight. I found the papers. The real papers. Alexander's been lying about everything. The company isn't failing. His family isn't pressuring him. This was all planned. I was always meant to be. The entry stopped mid-sentence. Alina heard footsteps in the hallway. She shoved the journal into her jacket and moved to the door, pressing her ear against the wood. The footsteps stopped outside Catherine's room. The doorknob turned slowly. Alina's heart hammered against her ribs. She looked for another exit. No windows large enough. No other doors. She was trapped. The door swung open. Alexander stood in the doorway, still in his travel clothes, eyes dark and unreadable. I thought you were in Seattle. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. I came back early. He stepped into the room, his gaze moving over the disturbed desk, the open drawers. Looking for something? Answers. Find any? She pulled out the journal. His expression didn't change. Catherine wrote about being trapped, about cameras, about contracts that made her property. She wrote a lot of things near the end. The pregnancy hormones made her paranoid. Paranoid. Alina's anger flared. She was terrified. Of you. Alexander moved closer. In the dim light, his face was all sharp angles and shadow. You want to know what really happened to Catherine? The truth? His voice was soft, dangerous. She tried to destroy me, tried to take everything I'd built and burn it down. The pregnancy was her insurance policy. She thought I wouldn't fight back if she was carrying my child. Fight back against what? She was working with my competitors, stealing company secrets, planning to sell them the week after the baby was born. He laughed, bitter and cold. Catherine wasn't the victim in our marriage, Alina. She was the predator. I don't believe you. I don't need you to believe me. I need you to play your part and stop digging into things that don't concern you. You're lying about something. I can feel it. Alexander's jaw tightened. You want to know what I'm lying about? Fine. He pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. Then he turned it toward her. The video showed Catherine, very much alive, sitting in a bright room with ocean views. A baby in her arms. This was recorded 6 months ago. Alexander's voice was flat. Catherine is alive, healthy, living under a new name in New Zealand with our daughter. She sends me updates once a month as part of our agreement. Alina stared at the video. Catherine looked happy. At peace. Then why all the secrecy? Why let everyone think she disappeared? Because Catherine committed corporate espionage. She could go to prison for 20 years. So we made a deal. She disappears, gets to keep her freedom and our daughter. I get to protect the company and my reputation. He put the phone away. The only people who know the truth are me, Victoria, and now you. And Irina? Irina saw what she wanted to see. A villain to blame. A friend to avenge. Alexander's eyes were cold. She doesn't know Catherine was stealing from us. That her friend was planning to destroy hundreds of jobs for a payout. Alina felt the ground shifting again. Every truth became a lie. Every lie became truth. How do I know that video is real? That you didn't fake it? Alexander pulled out a business card. Wrote a number on the back. That's Catherine's number. Call her. Ask her yourself. He moved to the door. But know this. If you expose what really happened, Catherine goes to prison. Sarah goes into foster care. And you violate the discretion clause in your contract. Your father loses everything. He paused in the doorway. We all have our prisons, Alina. Catherine's is just prettier than most. The door closed. The lock clicked. Alina stared at the number in her hand. Then at the journal, still clutched in her other hand. She dialed the burner phone. Irina, I need you to find someone for me. Catherine's sister in Oregon. I need to know if there's really a baby. Why? Because Alexander just showed me proof that Catherine is alive. And I need to know if he's telling the truth or if I'm married to the best liar I've ever met. There was a long pause. There is no sister in Oregon, Irina said quietly. Catherine was an only child. Her parents died when she was 16. The phone slipped from Alina's hand. Alexander had lied about everything, which meant Catherine might actually be dead, and Alina had just married her killer. Alina didn't sleep. She sat in Catherine's room until dawn, the journal in her lap, her mind spinning through every conversation, every detail, every lie. When Alexander's assistant knocked at 7, she was still there. Mrs. Stone? Mr. Stone requests your presence at breakfast. The title felt like a noose. She found him on the terrace overlooking the gardens, coffee steaming, newspaper folded, playing the role of the perfect husband. Sleep well? He didn't look up. No, neither did I. He set down the paper, met her eyes. You called Catherine's number. It wasn't a question. How do you know? Because I gave you a number that routes to a recording I made months ago. Standard practice when dealing with people who don't trust easily. He sipped his coffee. Did it convince you? Alina felt sick. You're monitoring me. I'm protecting my interests. There's a difference. Catherine was an only child. She had no sister. Alexander's expression didn't change. Irina told you that. Is it true? Yes. The admission hit like a slap. So you lied. About the sister. About Oregon. About everything. I lied about the details to see if you'd verify them, to see if you were working with Irina or someone else. He leaned back. You failed the test, Alina, which means I can't trust you. You can't trust me? Her voice rose. You're the one lying about your dead wife. She's not dead. Prove it. Real proof. Not another recording you made in a studio somewhere. Alexander studied her for a long moment. Then he stood. Come with me. He led her through the mansion, downstairs she didn't know existed, into a basement level that smelled of concrete and old money. At the end of a long hallway, he stopped at a steel door. Typed a code into the keypad. The door opened onto a small room. Computer monitors lined the walls, and in the center, a desk covered in file folders. This is where I keep everything I can't let my family see. He pulled out a folder, handed it to her. Catherine's medical records. Real ones. Not the cancer story I told you. Alina opened the folder. Her hands shook. Psychiatric evaluations. Suicide attempts. Medications for severe depression and borderline personality disorder. Catherine was sick, Alexander said quietly. Not cancer, mental illness. She'd been managing it for years before we met. But the pregnancy made everything worse. The hormones, the pressure from my family. She started having episodes. Violent ones. He pulled out photos. Broken furniture. Shattered glass. Deep scratches on Alexander's arms. I tried to get her help. Private doctors. Round-the-clock care. But she refused treatment. Said I was trying to lock her up. Control her. His voice cracked. The night she disappeared, she attacked me with a kitchen knife. I barely got it away from her before she hurt herself or the baby. So what happened? I made a choice. Alexander met her eyes. I had her committed, involuntarily, to a private facility in Switzerland where she could get the help she needed and deliver the baby safely. The baby? Is real, Sarah. She's with Catherine's childhood friend in New Zealand. Not a sister. I lied about that detail to protect Catherine's friend from being found. He pulled out a tablet, showed her recent photos. A toddler, Catherine beside her, looking healthier, stable. I send money every month. I visit twice a year, but Catherine can't come back. If she does, my family will have her declared incompetent. They'll take Sarah. Put Catherine in a state facility where she'll be medicated into oblivion. Alina felt tears burning. Why not just tell people the truth? Because mental illness carries stigma. Because my family would use it as ammunition. Because Catherine deserves privacy. He closed the folder. And because you wouldn't have believed me if I'd told you from the start. You needed to dig, to doubt, to see the complicated truth instead of the simple lie. You manipulated me. I tested you. There's a difference, is there? Alina threw the folder at him. You lied about everything. Made me think you were a murderer. Used my desperation and my father's life to trap me in a marriage built on... On what? Alexander stepped closer. On honesty? Because that's what this is now. Messy, ugly honesty. No more lies. No more tests. How do I know you're telling the truth now? You don't. His voice was raw. That's marriage, Alina. That's trust. A choice you make despite the doubt. Despite the fear? She stared at him. This man she'd married. This stranger who suddenly felt dangerous in a completely different way. I could still leave. Break the contract. Take my chances. You could. He didn't move. But you won't. Because your father would lose his care. Because you're not someone who runs when things get complicated. Because somewhere in the last week, you started to wonder if maybe I wasn't the monster you wanted me to be. The air between them felt electric. Don't confuse necessity with feeling, she whispered. Is that what you tell yourself? He reached out, fingers barely brushing her jaw. That you're here out of necessity? Alina's breath caught. What are you doing? Testing a theory. He kissed her. Not the cold, contractual kiss from the wedding. This was heat and hunger and months of isolation crashing together. She should have pulled away. Should have remembered the lies, the manipulation, the danger. Instead, she kissed him back. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back. This doesn't change anything, Alina said. Doesn't it? Before she could answer, the door burst open. Victoria stood there, face pale, phone in hand. We have a problem. Her voice was sharp with fear. Irina just went to the press. She's telling them everything. Catherine's disappearance, the contract, the mental illness, all of it. Alexander's expression went cold. When? The story drops in 2 hours. Unless we stop it. How? Victoria looked at Alina. We give them a better story. A redemption arc. The damaged billionaire saved by love. But it only works if you both sell it. No hesitation. No doubt. You want us to lie? Alina asked. I want you to survive. Victoria's eyes were hard. Because if this story breaks the way Irina's telling it, Alexander loses the company. Your contract becomes void. Your father's medical care stops immediately. You're blackmailing me. I'm giving you a choice. Play the loving wife at the press conference in 90 minutes, or watch everything you sold your dignity for crumble. Alina looked at Alexander. His jaw was tight, eyes distant. There's a third option, he said quietly. Victoria frowned. What? We tell the truth. All of it. Catherine's illness. The commitment. The marriage contract. Everything. He looked at Alina. No more lies. No more manipulation. We face it together or we don't face it at all. That's suicide, Victoria hissed. The board will remove you. The family will destroy you. Maybe. Alexander's voice was steady. But at least I'll be free. He turned to Alina. What do you want to do? She thought about her father, about the penthouse, about the safety she'd bought with her signature. Then she thought about Catherine, about being trapped in someone else's story, about the price of freedom. I want the truth, she said. Victoria's face went white. You're both insane, probably. Alexander took Alina's hand, the first time he'd touched her gently since the wedding. But I'm tired of being scared of the truth. They walked out of the basement together, leaving Victoria and her carefully constructed lies behind. 90 minutes later, they stood before a room full of cameras and reporters. Alexander spoke first, told Catherine's story, his story, the messy, complicated truth. When he finished, silence filled the room, then chaos, questions shouted from every direction, cameras flashing, judgment and curiosity bleeding together. Alina stepped forward. Her voice cut through the noise. I married Alexander knowing part of the truth, not all of it. What we have isn't traditional. It isn't perfect. But it's real. She met his eyes. And I'm choosing to stay. The room erupted. Later, in the car driving away from the wreckage, Alexander spoke. Why did you do that? You could have walked away, taken the money, saved yourself. Alina stared out at the city lights. Because somewhere in all the lies, I found something true. And I want to see what happens when we build on truth instead of contracts. He reached for her hand. This time, she didn't pull away. Thank you, he whispered. But as they drove through the night, Alina's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You made a mistake. Alexander didn't tell you everything. Ask him about the life insurance policy. Ask him why Catherine's friend in New Zealand receives monthly payments that match exactly what Catherine would have gotten in their divorce. He's still lying. And now you're complicit. Alina stared at the message, ice flooding her veins. She looked at Alexander. He'd fallen asleep against the window, exhausted. In his pocket, his phone screen glowed with a notification. Payment processed. $250,000 to account ending in 4739. Recipient, cmorrison.catherines. Maiden name was Morrison. Alina's hand shook as she realized the truth. Catherine wasn't getting help in New Zealand. She was being paid to stay silent, which meant everything Alexander had said was another carefully constructed lie. And Alina had just publicly chosen his side. Alina waited until they were home, until Alexander had poured himself scotch and was standing by the window, looking out at the city he'd just risked everything to keep. Who was C. Morrison? His hand stopped mid-drink. What? The payment, $250,000, sent tonight to an account belonging to C. Morrison. She moved closer. Catherine's maiden name was Morrison. The silence stretched like broken glass. You looked at my phone. You're still lying to me. Alexander set down his glass. When he turned, his face was stripped of all pretense. Yes, I'm still lying. His voice was flat. But not about what you think. Then tell me. No more tests. No more games. Tell me the truth or I walk out that door right now. He studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone, opened his messages, handed it to her. The conversation thread with C. Morrison went back 2 years. I can't keep doing this. They're getting suspicious, you have to. Just a little longer. How much longer? How much more money? As much as it takes to keep you safe. Alina scrolled up. Found a photo. Catherine, but older. Thinner. Standing next to a man Alina didn't recognize. That's Catherine's brother, Alexander said quietly. Christopher Morrison. The C stands for Christopher. Alina's world tilted. She had a brother? Has. He's alive. Living in New Zealand under witness protection. Alexander took the phone back. Catherine wasn't mentally ill. She wasn't stealing company secrets. She was running from someone. And I've been paying to keep her hidden. Running from who? My father. The words landed like stones. Alexander moved to the bar, poured another drink with shaking hands. Catherine worked for my father before we met. Executive assistant. She was smart, ambitious. Everything he respected. His voice went hollow. And then she found something she wasn't supposed to find. Documents proving he'd been embezzling from the company for years, using shell corporations. False invoices, millions of dollars. Why didn't she go to the authorities? Because she tried. And my father's people made her first attempt look like fraud, made her look unstable, threatened to have her committed. He downed the scotch. So she came to me, told me everything, asked for help, and you believed her? I didn't, not at first. Shame crossed his face. I thought she was trying to manipulate me, use me to get to my father, so I married her to control the situation, to keep her close while I investigated. You married her as surveillance. I married her to protect the family name. He met her eyes, and then I fell in love with her. Found proof she was telling the truth. Realized my father was the monster, not her. Alina sank into a chair. What happened the night she disappeared? My father found out I was gathering evidence against him. He came to the house, told Catherine she had 24 hours to leave the country or he'd have her killed. Alexander's voice cracked. She was 8 months pregnant, terrified. I had Christopher take her to New Zealand that night, faked her disappearance to buy time. The baby? Was born 2 weeks later, healthy. Catherine's raising her under a new name with Christopher's help. He pulled out his phone again. Showed her a recent video. Catherine, smiling, holding a toddler who looked just like the photo he'd shown before. I send money every month to keep them safe. To keep them hidden from my father. Why not just expose him? Because I've been trying. For 2 years. But he's covered his tracks too well. Every piece of evidence I find, he buries. Every witness I locate, he silences. Alexander's hands clenched. The board meeting. The company crisis. The pressure to remarry. That's all him. He's been systematically destroying my credibility so that when I finally have enough proof to take him down, nobody will believe me. Alina felt the pieces clicking into place. And hiring me was supposed to stabilize my reputation long enough to gather the last evidence I need. Make the board think I was reliable again. He looked at her. But then you started digging. Started asking questions. started making me realize that maybe honesty was better than another layer of lies. The press conference was the stupidest, most honest thing I've ever done. A bitter smile crossed his face. And now my father knows I'm not playing his game anymore, which makes me dangerous, which makes everyone around me a target. Fear crystallized in Alina's chest. My father is safe. I moved him to a different facility this morning, under a false name, with security. Alexander stepped closer. But you need to understand what you're in the middle of now. This isn't about a contract anymore. This is about taking down a man who's killed to protect his secrets, who will kill again if he feels threatened. Then why tell me? Why not keep lying to keep me safe? Because you're my wife, and I'm tired of protecting people by keeping them in the dark. His voice was raw. Catherine almost died because I tried to fight alone. I won't make that mistake again. Alina stood, moved to where he stood, close enough to see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight of 2 years of secrets. What do you need me to do? Walk away. The words seemed to cost him. Take the money from the contract. Disappear. Let me handle this alone. No. Alina, you said you were tired of fighting alone. So stop pushing me away. She took his hands. What do you actually need? He stared at her. Then something shifted in his expression. Hope, fragile and dangerous. There's a gala tomorrow night. My father's hosting. All the board members will be there. If I can get into his office while everyone's distracted, I can access his private server. Get the last evidence I need. You need a distraction. I need someone he doesn't see as a threat. Someone who can keep the board occupied while I work. Your wife. My wife who just publicly declared her loyalty to me. A real smile. Small and genuine. Think you can play the devoted spouse for one more night? Alina thought about Catherine, hiding halfway around the world. About her own father, safe for now but still vulnerable. About the choice between safety and truth. I can do better than that. She squeezed his hands. I can be the devoted spouse who helps you finish this. The next night, the gala was everything Alina had imagined wealthy people's nightmares to be. Crystal chandeliers, designer gowns, smiles that cost more than honesty. Alexander's father was exactly what she'd expected. Silver-haired, commanding, with eyes that calculated the value of every person in the room. So you're the girl who trapped my son into marriage. His handshake was brief, cold. Clever. I prefer mutually beneficial arrangement, Alina replied. But clever works too. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I appreciate directness. It's rare in this family. Is that what happened to Catherine? She was too direct? The temperature in the conversation dropped. Catherine was disturbed. A regrettable situation that you helped create. Alexander appeared at her elbow. Father, we should greet the board members. Of course. His father's eyes moved between them. Though I'm surprised you brought your wife. This is business. She's part of the business now, Alexander said smoothly. Better she understands what she married into. They moved through the crowd. Alexander introduced her to board members, smiled, played the role of the reformed son, and at exactly 9 o'clock, when the speeches began and everyone's attention was focused on the stage, he squeezed her hand once and disappeared. Alina was alone in a room full of sharks. Alexander's father materialized beside her. He's gone to my office, isn't he? Her blood went cold. I don't know what you mean, please. I've been watching him circle for 2 years. Tonight was inevitable. He sipped his champagne. The question is whether you're stupid enough to help him, or smart enough to see reason. What's your version of reason? Alexander walks away from his crusade. You get $1 million and a clean divorce. Everyone wins, except Catherine. Catherine made her choice. She could have taken my offer, disappeared quietly. Instead, she involved my son, made him choose between family and fantasy. His voice was ice. She got what she deserved. She got hunted. She got generous relocation assistance and a very comfortable life in New Zealand. He met her eyes. What she didn't get was to destroy my life's work over a misunderstanding about corporate finances. Embezzlement isn't a misunderstanding. Creative accounting isn't embezzlement. His smile was thin. And I have lawyers who will tie up any accusations in court for decades. Alexander knows this. So the question is, why is he still trying? Alina realized the truth with sudden clarity. Because it's not about winning. It's about not giving up on someone he loves. Something flickered in his father's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. Love makes people do stupid things, he said quietly. I love this company. Built it from nothing. And I won't let idealistic children destroy it over stolen money I fully intend to pay back. When? When I've secured my legacy. He turned to face her fully. Help me stop Alexander tonight, and I'll make you rich beyond your contract. Fight me, and I'll bury you both. Alina looked toward the hallway where Alexander had disappeared. Thought about all the lies, the manipulation, the danger. Thought about the man who'd finally chosen honesty over survival. I think, she said slowly, that you underestimate how stupid love makes people. She threw her champagne in his face. The room went silent. Cameras turned. Security moved forward. In the chaos, she ran. Found Alexander in the office, fingers flying across a keyboard, sweat on his forehead. We need to leave, now. 2 more minutes. We don't have 2 minutes. The door burst open. Security filled the hallway. Alexander hit enter. Got it. Everything uploaded to the SEC, the FBI, and every major news outlet. His father appeared in the doorway, champagne-soaked, fury in his eyes. You just destroyed this family. No. Alexander took Alina's hand. You did that when you chose money over people. They ran. Through back hallways, service exits, into the night where a car waited, driver ready. As they sped away, sirens began to wail behind them. What happens now? Alina asked. Now? Alexander looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time since the wedding. Now we see if the truth is enough. And if it's not, then we run, together. Alina laughed, slightly hysterical. This is the worst marriage I've ever been in. It's the only marriage you've been in. Exactly. He pulled her close. Kissed her like the world was ending. Like they'd just begun. Thank you, he whispered, for choosing this, for choosing me. Thank you for making me question everything I thought I knew about choices. The car drove through the night. Behind them, Alexander's father's empire began its collapse. Ahead, uncertainty and danger and possibility, but in that moment, holding each other in the back seat of a car racing toward an unknown future, they were free. 3 months later, Alexander's father was indicted. The company was restructured. Catherine came home with her daughter, finally safe. Alina and Alexander stood in the courthouse. Their contract's end date arrived. So, Alexander said, the year's up. You're free to go. Alina looked at the divorce papers, at the man who'd given her impossible choices and dangerous truths. What if I don't want to go? Then we rip up the contract. He pulled out the original document. And we try this without the lies, without the safety net. Just 2 people seeing if what we found in the chaos is real. She took the papers, tore them in half. Let's find out. He kissed her. Not like a contract, not like an arrangement, like a beginning. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. The world wanted their story. But Alina and Alexander walked past it all, hands clasped, choosing each other over and over with every step. Not because a contract demanded it, because love, messy and complicated and hard-won, demanded nothing but honesty. And for the first time in both their lives, that was enough. The end.